Alright, I've been seeing a lot of infighting lately between activists in the men's issues movements, men's rights movements, anti-circumcision movements, MGTOWs, traditionalists, any area of the men's rights movement you want to name. And it's usually over issues or ideas or concepts that are not defining of the men's rights movement or determining factors in men's rights issues. They're surface symptoms, things that exist because of something deeper. If you get caught up in those surface issues, it's just a distraction, really. They're not something that if we focus on those, we're going to solve the problem. And I wanted to point something out about that. And not specific to any one person, not specific to any one group. This isn't me speaking as a honey badger. It's not me speaking as a Redditor or and a Voice for Men writer or even the author of Breaking the Glasses. This is just an observation about men's issues in general and gender issues in general and what I see as the way what everything rests on. And the underlying problem on which pretty much any issue that you can point to in the men's rights movement is based is a lack of understanding, a lack of acceptance of men's equal humanity, and therefore the equal application or the equal relevance of human rights to men. And if we trace everything to its final point, trace everything that we talk about to its most underlying basic factor, that's it. That we don't see as a society men as deserving as much of basic recognition and basic accommodation of their human rights as we as a society do for women. And the second factor is accountability. And as far as women are concerned, we don't treat women as being as responsible or as accountable as men are. Those are the only two things we should be focused on, and not that we should ignore the outlying issues themselves. Not that we should ignore the surface, but if all we ever do is scratch the surface, all that stuff is never going to go away. It's never going to be solved. We'll still be struggling with it 100 years from now. And if we dig deep and we get rid of all the bullshit that's got all this covered up, and we uncover those two factors, that human rights apply equally to men and that accountability applies equally to women, everything else will follow. So if we keep getting caught up in whether or not you can be left-leaning or right-leaning in an MRA, or whether you can be religious or have to not be religious and be an MRA, whether you must be traditionalist or whether you must be a MGTOW, or whether you can't be either of those things, whether they're both extremes. If we just keep getting caught up in that stuff, we'll be stuck in this forever. So my challenge to everybody is to let it go. We all have differences. We're all going to have differences. I have political beliefs. I have a political outlook. My politics, I'm not going to bring that up here. I'm not going to get into that right now. But I believe in a political solution to some things. Economics, for one thing. And I vote. I will vote in November in the election. And I'll vote for a political party, or I will vote for candidates who uphold the beliefs that fit my political outlook. But as far as the men's rights movement is concerned, I don't think my political beliefs are a solution to that. And it would be wrong for me to try to impose those on the movement simply because I have espoused them and I have an attachment to them. So what I'm asking as a fellow MRA is for everybody to consider the difference between your belief system and your understanding of those two basic underlying factors. Human rights apply equally to men. Accountability applies equally to women. And if that doesn't fit what you believe, politically, socially, religiously, whatever, if it doesn't fit your lifestyle, it doesn't matter. You live your beliefs. You live your lifestyle. You exist as you are. But don't for a minute try to impose that on everybody else. What we need to do instead is collectively grab our figurative shovels and start sliding aside the extraneous shit that is keeping us from focusing on those true factors. When you come across a discussion or an issue or anything else, the way to look at it is whether or not men's human rights are being recognized, whether or not female accountability is being advocated. And if they're not, then that's what we need to step in and do. Advocate for the equal recognition of men's human rights. If a human right is under discussion, it applies equally to men. If a responsibility that without meeting it one cannot be considered an adult is under discussion, it needs to apply equally to women. If it's not about that human rights issue, if it's not about that accountability issue, then you're not getting down to basics. You're just scratching the surface again. We don't need to be infighting and stabbing each other in the back and kicking each other in the shins and basically bullying each other into accepting a political or lifestyle outlook simply because one of us or some of us embrace it. And that's it. Quit making out like everything has to be so damn complicated and grab a shovel.